Okay, today we're talking about lesson 5.3, module 5, lesson 3. We've been kind of scooting along, exploring volume. On Monday, we thought about volume by building and putting things together with unit cubes. And then yesterday, we learned about nets, which were flattened three-dimensional objects, or prisms. And then we put them together, and then we filled them with unit cubes in order to find out what the volume is. Today, we are going to be making and decomposing, which means taking apart, rectangular prisms, thinking about it in layers. We're going to kind of slice rectangular solids and rectangular prisms up in layers in different ways. Does that make sense? Yeah. Good. If each cube is worth 1 or is 1 cubic centimeter big, what is the volume of figure A? Let's count the cubes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 cubes. So the volume, everyone, is 6 cubic centimeters. Very good. And you can write it like that. What about for figure B? What's the volume? 8. Very nice. Okay, those ones are easy because they're flat. Let's take a look at some that are not flat. What's the volume of figure C?
8 cubic centimeters.
Again, you can still count the cubes, right? You can see there's 4 at the bottom and 4 on the top for a total of 8. What about figure D?
8 cubic centimeters.
8 cubic centimeters. So we can see that figures B, C, and D all have the same volume. They take up the same amount of space. But do they look the same? So different three-dimensional figures can have the same volume even if they look different. See that? As long as they take up the same amount of space. What about figure E?
8 cubic centimeters.
So another figure that looks different as well, but it takes up the same three-dimensional space. So again, I want to remind you that we always use cubic units, whether it's centimeters, inches, meters. It could be cubic miles, right? That would be huge, though, because for volume, it's a three-dimensional figure. If there's 3 dimensions, cubic means 3. Does that make sense? Very good. What about for figure F?
18 cubic centimeters.
18 cubic centimeters. We can see that there's 9 here on the front, and then there must be 9 in the back as well. The volume of this is 4 cubic centimeters. Again, you don't need to write anything down yet. Okay? Now we're going to add layers horizontally, meaning sideways. Do you see how I added the yellow layer to the orange layer? Now what's the volume of this?
8 cubic centimeters.
8 cubic centimeters.
Because we just added another layer, and how many more cubes did I add in the second layer?
4.
Because so my first layer had 4, and then my second one I had another 4. So for a total of 8. Yes? Let's add one layer. Actually, 3 more layers horizontally. Do you guys see how I'm adding layers horizontally to the side? So how many, in the orange layer I have how many blocks? In the yellow layer I have how many blocks?
4.
In the blue layer I have how many blocks? In the red layer I have how many blocks?
4.
And in the green layer I have how many blocks?
4.
So altogether how many blocks are there?
Cubic centimeters.
20 blocks. So what's the volume?
20 cubic centimeters.
20 cubic centimeters. Very nice. If you look in your lesson problem set, if you flip past where it says lesson 3 problem set, you'll see at the top it'll say lesson 3 template. Do you see that? That's where you will see, go past the problem set and you'll see that at the top it says lesson 3 template. Point to where it says lesson 3 template. Awesome. Under that you'll see these drawings. Yes? Okay. So let's record each of these layers using the drawing. So the first one, how many layers are there?
4.
How many layers are there in this orange one?
2.
How many layers are there?
1.
1. So we can leave this whole. And let's just write that there are 4 blocks in that one layer. Now, how many layers are there in the second one? How many layers are there? There's an orange layer and there's a yellow layer. So how many layers are there? 2. So go ahead and split this into 2 layers. Do you see how that's split into 2 layers? And in the first layer I have 4 blocks. And in the second layer I have 4 blocks. Go ahead and write the 4 and 4 to show that in each layer is made up of 4 blocks. I want you to notice that when I split the layers, I did not just draw one straight line down the middle. What I did was I made the top parallel to the lines at the top, and then I made this one so that I split it in a 3D way. Do you see that? How many layers are there in this picture here? There's an orange one, a yellow one, a blue one, a red one, and a green one. So how many layers?
5.
Let's go ahead and split this into 5 sections then. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 layers. Let's draw the numbers to show how many blocks are in each layer. How many blocks are in the first layer?
4.
How many blocks are in the second layer?
4.
How many blocks are in the third layer?
4.
How many blocks are in the fourth layer?
4.
And how many blocks are in the fifth layer? Very good. Now, this prism with the 5 layers, we've already split it one way. Let's draw it again. So actually, I'm going to draw it again. You already have it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and each layer has 4. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in your notes, I want you to draw this table that you see right here. One part says number of layers, one part says number of cubes in each layer, and one part says volume. So based on the way we've split it here, how many layers are there? How many layers did we split it up into?
5.
5. Okay, so let's write there's 5 layers. Remember there was an orange, yellow, blue, red, and green for a total of 5 layers. And how many cubes are in each layer?
4.
4. So therefore, the volume of that prism is how many cubic centimeters? 20 cubic centimeters. Go ahead and record that in your chart. Is that the only way to slice this up like this? Could we slice it some other way?
Yes.
What's another way we could slice this prism? Jack?
2 layers.
Ooh, so what I hear you saying is I could slice it through like this? So what we could do is you could show on your drawing, you could slice, oops. You could slice it like this as well, couldn't we? Now if I slice it this way, how many layers are there? Okay, so let's write that. There'd be 2 layers. And how many cubes are there in the top layer?
10.
10. Okay, so let's record that. There's 10 in the top layer. And how many are in the bottom layer? 10. So how many cubes are there in each layer?
10.
10. Okay, so if there's 2 layers and each layer has 10 cubes, how many cubes are there altogether?
20.
So what's the volume? 20 cubic centimeters. So far we've sliced this prism 2 different ways. Like this, horizontally. We've also done it like this through the middle, right? Is there any other way we could slice it? Is there any other way we could slice it? Anushka?
Like vertically, like slice it.
Ooh, so right down here like this? Like one cut like that? So we could show that by drawing it in our thing. See how we slice it that way? Is that what you're talking about? Very good. So if we slice it this way, how many layers do we have? 2. We have a front layer, which is the one we can see right here, and then we have a back layer, right? So we have 2 layers. How many cubes are in the front layer? 10. See, because we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. See that? So let's write that. There's 10. And then how many are in the back layer? Be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we can show that there's 10 in the back as well. Okay, so it's important for you to be able to show the layers and the different cuts in different ways. So in this case, there's 2 layers, one in the front, one in the back. How many cubes are there in each layer?
10.
10. So how many cubes are used all together?
20.
So what's the volume of the prism?
20 cubic centimeters.
20 cubic centimeters, very good. So using this chart, we can see that there's 3 different ways we could slice it into layers, right? And no matter which way you slice it, the volume is always the same. It's always 20 cubic centimeters. So looking at this and comparing it with our previous prism, we can see that we can cut each one into layers 3 different ways. We can do it up and down. We could do it horizontally. We could also do it from front to back. Do you see that? Okay, very good.